What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are going to do a camera comparison between the three new iPhones: the iPhone Air, the iPhone 17, and the 17 Pro. Now, in previous years, I would always sort of say that the difference between the regular iPhone and the Pro iPhone wasn't really enough to be a deciding factor. But this year, things are different. The iPhone Air has one single camera lens and some considerable limitations. The regular iPhone has a solid camera setup for probably 90% of people, but the Pro iPhone this year has a couple useful improvements that I think make it more worth it, even if you're not a filmmaker or a professional photographer. It's still not as capable as a certain Samsung phone, but we'll save that for a separate video. I would say that as you go up the line, you gain one more lens and a handful of features, but price-wise, the iPhone Air is actually in the middle. It's more expensive than the regular iPhone 17, which further complicates this camera comparison. But basically, if you're buying the iPhone Air, buy it for any other reason besides its camera setup. There's really a lot to talk about here, and I have plenty of real-world picture samples to show you so you can sort of get a feel for what these phones are capable of and what their various limitations are. But before we get into that, we're going to need some protection for these new phones, and Casetify, this video's sponsor, has come in clutch. They sent me a trio of survival kits featuring their latest cases that combine both unmatched protection and style. Casetify's bounce case has enlarged corners, compression zones basically, that absorb an impact and deliver its strongest drop protection ever. Whether you knock it off the kitchen counter, miss your pocket, or have it free fall from high above your head, your phone is fully surrounded by bouncy goodness. Good thing too, this year's iPhone Pros are particularly delicate. There's even a full raised rubber edge to protect the screen, though Casetify also sells screen protectors of course, and that big beautiful camera plateau is safe and sound too. The whole entire case is tough and durable thanks to Duo-Lock, where they chemically and physically bond the backplate and bumpers together, and it's still MagSafe compatible and ergonomic in your hand. If you like showing off your iPhone, Casetify's crystal clear impact case is made from a premium material that keeps things clear. No scratching, no yellowing, and no stains. Even if you maybe spill your morning coffee on the case and forget about it all day long, the case is still going to keep crystal clear. If you want something more unique, Casetify's glaze cases feature a similar scratch-free backplate with a printed design. There's literally thousands to choose from, and the artwork is printed within the case itself, so it'll never fade, peel, or rub off, keeping your phone looking cool. Click the link in the video description below, or scan the QR code on screen to get 15% off any of Casetify's cases. So to set the stage here, let's first start off with the basics. If you just whip out any of these phones and snap a picture, here's what you're going to get. A pretty similar looking shot across the board, but the colors, or more specifically the white balance, is always a little off. The reds and greens here are the same, but the white balance of the 17 Pro looks a little different from the Air and the regular iPhone 17. If you look closely at the yellows, whites, and grays, the iPhone 17 Pro seems to maybe overcorrect the white balance to some extent. The rock in this shot is an entirely different color actually on all three phones, but in this shot, you can see the 17 Pro captured a warmer, more yellow-tinted image, while the Air and the regular 17 are quite a bit cooler or more bluish. Here, the troll's beard is almost golden on the regular 17, while the Pro and the Air look more white or gray. The sky is a different shade too. The stone is different as well. And this white balance inconsistency is something I experienced pretty regularly on my iPhone 16 Pro last year, so it seems like that element, whatever it is still present on all three iPhones this year. Now, I personally feel that when it comes to overall detail, all three phones are actually very similar. Each main camera lens is a 48 megapixel shooter. The Pro has a slightly different sensor. You can utilize professional image formats, but for the average everyday person, you're not going to be seeing in 4K with the Pro iPhone or looking through a blur filter on the Air. I truly don't notice any more or any less detail on any one of these images, no matter how far I'm zooming in on the image itself, that is. More on zoom in a moment. And one other thing I have to mention, when it comes to lens flare or glare on the image, something the iPhone is famous for, yeah, it's still present on all three phones. There's no way around it, especially in low light and nighttime shots when there's well, any light in your shot. Apple still hasn't found a way to rid us from this unfortunate deal, and it really puts a damper on some of these nighttime shots. Capability-wise, well, this is sort of where the iPhone Air ends. Its single lens setup can snap regular old pictures. You can capture portrait shots as well and do some digital zooming, but there's no wide angle, no telephoto, just nothing more here as far as the hardware. The lack of a wide angle lens is a big bummer, in my opinion. It's very useful, and I think people actually default to it more than they realize. So you just aren't going to get these broader pictures that the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro are capable of with their wide-angle lenses. And that's sort of what I mean when I say that going up the lineup affords you some additional things. Going from the Air to the regular 17 gains you this wide-angle lens, or more appropriately, going up from the 17 to the Air causes you to miss out on the wide-angle lens, and I do think that's a big consideration. What's sort of interesting though is that the digital zoom capabilities are the exact same on the Air and the regular 17, but the 17 Pro now has an all-new telephoto lens that gives you not just better optical zoom, but much, much further digital zoom. So what all does that mean? Well, for starters, your 2x, 3x, and 5x sort of default zooms are going to look a lot clearer on the 17 Pro because it's actually utilizing the third telephoto lens, the physical hardware, while the other two iPhones are just doing things digitally. If you need to zoom in further, well, the Air and the regular 17 top out at 10 times zoom, which nowadays doesn't feel very capable or very far. The iPhone 17 Pro, however, gets you a lot closer, with now up to 40 times zoom. And to be honest, it looks pretty good, even all the way up. I feel like the difference in quality and detail is still pretty noticeable within the 2 to 10x range. The Pro just preserves so much more, and the regular iPhone and the Air don't do a good job actually showing what it is you're zoomed in on. But capability-wise, going well beyond 10x is quite useful too. And I feel like there's some excitement here after years and years of Samsung owners trolling iPhone owners about their lack of zoom, but it's still no 100 times super zoom. One more thing I want to quickly mention with the rear lens setups is that for portrait pictures, the iPhone Air seems like it has a slightly different focal length even compared to the regular iPhone 17 and 17 Pro. With the first shot here, my face looks very forward. I'm like all nose and forehead, while the regular 17 and 17 Pro have me looking flatter. When you jump to the 2x portrait, things even out a little more, and actually the photos look nearly identical. My facial features seem like they align. I do look very broad compared to the regular or 1x portrait, but all three phones look the same to me, which is good. And if you'd rather take pictures of yourself with the selfie camera, well, all three new iPhones got the new center stage 18 megapixel selfie camera. So to no surprise, the selfies are pretty much identical. Whether you just snap a regular selfie or you use the new landscape selfie option that takes advantage of the new square camera sensor, it all looks the same on all three phones. And that's great. Like I said, not exactly unexpected, but it's nice to know that the new selfie camera wasn't just reserved for one or two of these iPhones. Now, there's obviously a bit more to the cameras, especially the Pro iPhones. I'm not a professional though, so I'll save those analyses for the people who know. And speaking of the Pro iPhones, in previous years, Apple would add like a random thing or two to the camera setup on the Pro Max to differentiate it, like better zoom, a Pro video or photo format. But this year, the Pro and Pro Max have the exact same camera setups, the same features, same capabilities, same settings. There's no difference. So there's no reason to get the Pro Max at all, unless you like the big screen and big battery, but nothing camera related this year. But if we're just talking average everyday picture taking and the most used features, here's what I'll say about these three phones. The iPhone Air obviously takes a good looking picture, but that's all it's ever going to do. You get one lens to work with. You can capture portrait pictures, you can film videos, you can zoom a bit too, but you're missing out on the wide-angle lens that I feel is quite useful in more ways than one. The regular iPhone 17, once again, has just a solid overall camera setup that's very well rounded for the vast majority of people. The wide-angle lens, I think is a must-have nowadays, and you're not missing out on anything else, really. The Pro iPhone, with its much more capable telephoto zoom lens, is pretty enticing, but the question here is whether or not that's enough of a consideration to just get the Pro, or are you pro enough to utilize the Pro shooting modes for photos and videos, or does none of that even matter, and should you just stick with the regular iPhone? Any which way you go, I do think that the regular point-and-shoot pictures all look very, very similar, so you can't really go wrong. But what do you guys think? Which of these three iPhones would you be okay with having as your go-to picture taker? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.